Hey, how you doing today? So I'm sitting here. I'm actually out in Canton, Ohio, as part of my new book tour, and I'm walking around a park, and there's this gorgeous waterfall behind me. It's actually the third or fourth one that I've passed, and I decided to sit down. And I was sitting here thinking about how beautiful the water sounds. But it sounds beautiful for a few minutes, a few moments. And all I could stop to think about was there are people who are suffering and hearing that waterfall all day. There are people that hear rushing, swooshing, swishing, ringing, beeping. I've heard every adjective out there, but there are people that have to live with that sound all the time. And here's the truth. It can be treated. Tinnitus or tinnitus, however you want to say it, it really can be addressed. So for those naysayers who say, oh, there's nothing that can be done, for those people who unfortunately took the supposed magic pill, for those people who have essentially run out of hope, who have run out of options, I want you to know that we are here for you, that there are things that can be done, that you have to talk to your hearing healthcare specialist who understands what ringing, swooshing, waterfall sounds in the ear and the brain are, right? What actually causes them. Once you know what the cause is, then you know how to effectively treat it. Doesn't that make sense, right? So look, there are a number of causes. I mean, let's start with the most obvious, which is damage to your auditory system. Notice I didn't say hearing loss, right? And why did I leave that out? Why did I strategically not say hearing loss? Because many people don't even realize they have hearing loss. There are even patients that have, call it clinically, under the clinical limit of what hearing loss is, right? We have our definitions. We have our limits of when we consider somebody to have hearing loss and not. There are some people that technically have normal hearing, but have ringing in their ears that is caused by damage to their auditory system. Now, there are other causes also, but they are in the minority, okay? There are people that have jaw-related issues, TMJ, that can lead to ringing, okay? But typically, you won't just experience ringing, you will experience significant dental and jaw-related issues. And so when you have both of those, well, you should go and get that checked out. You should talk to your dentist, you should talk to your periodontist, you should talk to your orthodontist, you should talk to somebody in the teeth world about that. Now, there are other people where it's directly related to hypertension and, some thinning of the arteries, some thinning of the vascular system that results in like a pulsating, right? And so the pulsating ringing goes along with your heartbeat. I would put both of those categories in probably the maybe 5 to 10% of cases of tinnitus or tinnitus, either way. I want to talk about the 90% that are living with this sound in their ear, that have clinically diagnosed or technically still have normal hearing that results from damage to the auditory system. So for somebody who's studied it firsthand, for somebody who has looked in the ear, for somebody who has studied the brain, recorded from the brain, it honestly, it makes perfect sense why when there's damage to the auditory system, it results in ringing, swishing, buzzing, waterfall-like sounds. But to most people, it doesn't seem to correlate with hearing loss or damage to the system. So allow me to explain it. From the ear to the brain, there are thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of neural connections that basically tie the ear throughout the brain. When those connections break down, now, they can break down from a whole host of things. It could be from, obviously, hearing loss. That's caused by age, okay? So your number of birthdays is correlated with your risk of experiencing these sounds in your ears. It could be from noise exposure. So if you're out mowing the lawn too much, if you are out at concerts, if you're a musician, if you work in a noisy place, if you're not protecting your ears from the loud sounds in our environment, you are at a very high risk of damaging your auditory system that will lead to this sound in your ear and in your head. There's medications, okay? There's a number of medications, some that are used, antibacterial medications. There are some medications that are used in chemotherapies that can directly damage the auditory system. At some point, the damage to the auditory system becomes noticeable enough and becomes detectable enough that we can pick it up on our easy hearing test. Sometimes we don't pick it up, which is why sometimes there are people that have tinnitus but don't have a hearing loss that comes with it. But honestly, what I tell those patients is consider yourself lucky that we're talking this early in the game, because that ringing, that swooshing, that waterfall sound in your ears, honestly, is really just the first symptom of what's to come. It is the first symptom of the damage that is starting to rear its ugly head throughout your auditory system, and it's setting off an alarm. It genuinely is. It's an internal alarm telling you something's wrong. So even if you think you have normal hearing, even if you went somewhere and had your hearing tested and they said, oh no, you have normal hearing, it's not that. Truth is, it probably is that, okay? It probably is directly related to damage to your auditory system that perhaps was not picked up on our diagnostic evaluation process. So I really have an encouraging conversation with my patients, even the ones that come in really early, that look, okay, we can't cure tinnitus, right? Anybody who says they can cure tinnitus is out of their mind and should probably be locked up. There is no cure. There is no magic pill, no magic potion. However, there are very effective treatments available once we know why you have the ringing in your ears. So, look, there are people that suggest diet plays a role. Absolutely, unequivocally, it can play a role in ringing. And so if you find that to be a trigger, let's figure that out. We can do that together. Let's figure out why your diet, why caffeine, why chocolate, why certain medications, why aspirin, why... Let's figure out what you're taking into your body that might be causing it, and let's see if there's a way to eliminate that instigator, that trigger, okay? But if we get to a point where we decide it's not necessarily diet, we're managing the diet, we're managing the stress, then we really have to talk about the fact that this auditory damage, this breakdown of nerves between the ear and the brain, we have to do something about it. We have to provide direct stimulation. We have to replace the sound that's missing, right? So with hearing loss, this is really easy to do. With hearing loss, we see that there's damage. We understand that's what caused the ringing. And I know it sounds kind of backwards, right? Because if I can't hear things, well, why do I hear ringing? Well, the real simple, watered down explanation is summed up in two words. It's called central gain, okay? So yes, there's diminished input from your ear to brain, but then the brain actually artificially makes up for it, and it provides extra stimulation that shouldn't be there. So there's this gain of activity up in the central, up in the brain, that you hear, right? You can actually hear that increased activity. It's actually very similar, if you've heard of phantom limb. It's very similar to what happens in phantom limb, where, you lose an arm, you lose an extremity, but the patient says they can still feel it. Why is that? Because the brain is making up for that missing signal. So when it comes to treating ringing in the ears, when it comes to combating these sounds that can haunt people, that increases anxiety, increases stress, it decreases the ability to focus at work, it decreases the ability to hear, because those sounds can sort of interrupt the things that you want to hear. When it comes to treating, we're talking about providing sound stimulation to the ears that can suppress that excess neural activity. I'm not talking about masking it. I'm not talking about, let's just put another sound in the ear so you're distracted. Yes, that's available. Yes, tinnitus maskers exist. I'm talking about providing targeted acoustic sound stimulation to your brain that can drive the nerves, that can turn down that central gain, that excessive activity in your brain that's causing that annoying ringing, swishing, or buzzing. Through this direct treatment, and we recently completed a study, and we had practices from across the country, all Excellence in Audiology member clinics. We had several hundred subjects enroll in this study, and what we found was that in over 80% of the subjects, and it was a real simple like, hey, do you have tinnitus? Do you have some hearing loss? Even if you don't, if you've got this annoying ringing in your ears, let us provide 60 days. It was just 60 days, okay? Because some people can take longer. But we did a short window. We did 60 days where we provide that sound stimulation, and we found that in over 80% of subjects, it reduced anxiety. It reduced that stress and anxiety that comes with it. People heard so much better. And we found that in 80% of the subjects that there was a reduced experience of the tinnitus, which basically means the tinnitus was turned down. It wasn't as loud. It wasn't as cumbersome. Some subjects said it completely went away, right? But I would never promise anybody that. But when I can tell you, what I can guarantee you is that there's an 8 in 10 chance, and I really like those odds. There's an 8 in 10 chance that when clinically managed, when treated correctly, that there really is something that can be done to reduce the ringing, swishing, and waterfall that's in your ears that's getting in your way. So I just wanted to share that with you. If you enjoy this, I want you to go ahead. I want you to subscribe to my channel. I want you to subscribe to my Dr. Keith Darrow podcast, and just join me on this journey as we provide excellence in audiology and we provide more education in hearing healthcare. Take care.